you, Lou. Another wonderful WrestleRoni for me and for you. I know it was just 2 episodes ago, but there's kind of a little bit of a big deal going on, Joe Brody. Joe Brody's already back. How you feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful. I'm on a complete emotional high on the roller coaster of life right now.
Good. Same. Likewise. I think me and you's in a pretty good spot as of right now, and that's what I was saying, Joe. Usually I don't bring guests back so soon, but yesterday we kind of you made a huge announcement. The NICW made a huge announcement. Everybody's talking. Everybody has answers. Go ahead, let's hear from the man himself. Tell me about the board meeting. What came of it? What's going on with the NICW?
You know, you segued in there. I'm going to have to quote Roddy Piper. Just when you think you got the answers, I changed the question.
Love
it. and the late or not the late, but the great Ken Patera used to say, "Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat."
There you go. Hey. Those are good quotes for the episode.
Big news, exciting news for anybody out there that hasn't heard. If you've been under a rock or under 2 foot of snow and ice here in West Virginia, the NICW, National Independent Championship Wrestling, we had our annual board meeting last week, and there were several new independent promotions admitted to the organization under the NICW banner, and I'm sure that a lot of your viewers, listeners of your podcast are going to be familiar with those promotions, maybe more so than they are with APW or with NICW. We approached several promoters. There were several that decided that they kind of wanted to take a wait and see look about everything. That you know, they're not going to operate against us, but they're willing to help, but they don't want to be full members at this point. But the full membership is the original NICW promotion that's running out of Virginia, and they do live events in North Carolina as well. And moving up the map from there, we've got Championship Wrestling that's operating in also down in Southwest Virginia, around the Tennessee border and over into Tennessee.
Okay.
And the ownership there are guys that I've been familiar with and known for over 20 years. And then we've got, of course, APW operating in Virginia and in West Virginia. And we've got PWL, which operates in here in West Virginia, and just recently promoted an event in North Carolina. That's Premier Wrestling League. Mm-hmm. And we've got Maximum Velocity Wrestling operates out of the central part of West Virginia, and I'm sure that most of your viewers are going to be more familiar with that promotion. And then we've also got Top Notch Wrestling Alliance that operates out of northern West Virginia, up on the Ohio border, and they do monthly events in West Virginia, in New Haven, West Virginia, at the community center. And I've been to a couple of those events recently, just to take a look. And I met the promoter up there, Brad Litchfield, and he's a great guy, and we got along great right from the get go. But the thing is that the way this is going to operate, and I know that a lot of fans today are not. They're not old enough. They don't remember the old National Wrestling Alliance before Billy Corgan bought them, or even before they were more of a loose knit independent promotion operation before that. But prior to that, the National Wrestling Alliance operated for years and years and years under a similar type structure that NICW is going to operate. The NWA was the governing board, and they controlled the world title as far as booking that title out. And member promotions would, there was a certain set of rules that the promoters followed, and that's basically how this is going to operate. NICW, the board and the competition committee are going to book the world champion, which is going to come out of the tournament that's ongoing right now. We just started it last week. APW was chosen to host the tournament early on, and the previous champion Lance Erickson suffered an injury and was unable to compete, and he relinquished the title. And we spent about a month setting up the brackets and determining who was going to be in the tournament, and it's ongoing right now. So there's going to be a world champion that is going to be recognized in multiple promotions across multiple states. I was actually approached earlier today by two other individuals. One of them just making an inquiry about possibility of coming in to the NICW, and the other one is fully on board. I'm going to give you an exclusive right now. This has not been announced anywhere else, but earlier today, Boogie's Wrestling Camp (BWC) that operates out of Shawsville, Virginia, is going to be a member of NICW. So the training school and the live events that they do down there with the trainees and sometimes graduates of Boogie's training school are going to be that they do a show that they televise. They put it on the internet every week down there, and they're also going to be a part of NICW, and they're going to recognize the NICW world champion.
I love it. And me and you, just for the fans that don't know, Joe, I want to make sure to put it out there. Me and you say Boogie's training school just casually, like it's an everyday thing. For the listeners, we're talking the Boogie Woogie man, Jimmy Valiant himself. You know,
Yeah.
So I love it. I love what they're doing down there. I watch the product constantly. So congrats, good.
The other promotion actually is I just barely scratched the surface. Made contact with them. I'm going to pursue that over the rest of this week. But I will tell you that promotion operates out of Ohio, so we're looking at adding that in. And another bit of news about that is all of the member promotions are going to submit video of individual matches from their live events, and those are going to be edited into a single program that we're going to put up on YouTube. And it's going to be highlight matches from each individual promotion that will be available, and hasn't been completely decided right now, but it's looking like that the name of that channel when we get it up and running on YouTube is going to be NICW Worldwide.
I love it.
So and speaking of the world title and worldwide, I didn't really get into this, I don't think, the last time, but the NICW world title is a legitimate title. It has been defended in multiple areas here in the United States and multiple promotions, but it's also been defended in Europe. When Victor Andrews was the champion, he took the belt to Germany, and I believe he had it in England, but I'm not sure if he defended the belt in England or not. But I do know that the belt's been defended outside the United States, and very possibly looking at the champion going into Canada later this summer, whoever the eventual champion is also.
I love it. And that's big. But to me personally, the big part of this, we've talked about it on the channel for years. What if everybody just came together and helped each other out? Can you imagine what it would be like? Now, of course, not everybody came together. That'll never happen. Never say never, but it's highly unlikely. But to do what y'all did.
There's every chance that we have another promoter that was approached, and he may very well make the decision very soon. But as of right now, we've not gotten a firm commitment out of him to join NICW, and but that door is still open. And like I said, there was a second promotion that did attend the meeting, and basically liked everything that was said, but just isn't ready to jump on board right now. And but that door is also open in the future.
And I can understand that side too. I mean, we call it independent wrestling for a reason. I preach it all the time, so I can understand both trains of thought.
Each individual promotion is going to retain their own identity. Their champions are going to be recognized by NICW. But the thing is that they are all going to, as a conglomeration, recognize a champion, and that championship will be defended in all of the member promotions. The top contenders will get an opportunity. And one thing it also does is it provides an opportunity for all of those other promotions to send their best wrestlers here to APW on Thursday nights for television appearances. We cut that deal as well, so that door is open.
Good. That's what I was going to ask you. Will we be looking at a thing like talent exchanges and people going to
Absolutely.
different promotions? Yeah.
We've already discussed. I do know that the current APW Tag Team Champions, the recently named Appalachian Express, which is T.J. Walker and Denny Burgess, have the title currently, and they are going to defend the belts on a PWL event, the big event that's coming up on March the 8th in Bluefield. And their opponents are to be determined right now, but they're also going to be in Roxborough, North Carolina on an NICW event defending the belts on February 22nd.
Awesome.
So of course, right now, Jeff Paul is the American heavyweight champion, and he appears in the ring on almost every PWL event. So you've got the APW American heavyweight champion is going to be defending that belt in all of the promotions that want him to come in. And he has appeared on most all the member promotions events already in the past. Yeah. The titles, he's familiar to a lot of fans, and we've got big things. Looking forward to really, really big things. This is something I mentioned the last time I was on with you, that this is something that I personally have been working toward and trying to make happen now for about 25 years. Wow. And I couldn't be more excited about the possibilities and about the future. And, honestly, if I had been able to make this deal work in 1999 and 2000 when I was working on it, the same four promotions that were in discussions at that time would all still be in business, and we'd be dominating this geographic area. And it's unfortunate that it fell through, because the talent pool that we had available to us at that time, absolutely, I'll just be honest with you, it blows out of the water, anything that's available out there right now.
So you're saying you tried to make this happen before. Tell me what you can. What happened?
Well, I think when I was on last time, I told you that there were four promoters basically operating in West Virginia back then, and there was Mason-Dixon Wrestling, there was Mountain State Wrestling Association, and my own Appalachian Wrestling Alliance, and then Lord, I think
we said Mason-Dixon.
No, Mason-Dixon was Jim Hawkins up north, but there was Jeff Lane's promotion. I'm trying to think of the name. I can't remember what it was. WPW World Pro Wrestling, maybe. I can't. But anyway, I was also dealing with a brand new promotion at that time that had just started, which was Appalachia Pro Wrestling. Southern West Virginia. That was a promotion that I was actually the booker for at the time, and it was a really good opportunity for all of us. And myself and Jim Hawkins with Mason-Dixon were fully 100% on board with it, and we just could never get everybody else. There was quite a level of cooperation with everybody, but egos got involved, and I'm just gonna be honest with you. A lot of times, independent promoters, in their mind, they think, "Oh, I'm Vince McMahon. I don't have to deal with anybody."
Right.
And that honestly, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Vince McMahon killed the pro wrestling business. Okay. He created sports entertainment, and he brought that product to a more of a mainstream audience. But what people don't realize is that prior to his national expansion, there was about 2,500 wrestlers in the United States and Canada that made a living wrestling. I mean, made a good living wrestling. And today, there's probably less than 200. So you tell me, what's more successful, right, for the guys in the business? And instead of one promoter making a scandalous amount of money, there were 18, 20, 25 different promoters, all with regional television, all recognizing the NWA champion. I mean, even the American Wrestling Association Vern Gagne ran out of Minnesota and Chicago, they still had ties, maintained their ties with the NWA. The NWA World Champion defended his title on AWA events and vice versa. Vince McMahon Sr. Was actually a board member on the NWA Board of Directors in 1981. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, it was sometime in '82 when Vince Jr. took over the companies when they pulled out of the NWA. So, what we're trying to do here is not reinvent the wheel. We're trying to go back to what worked previously, very well from 1948 to 1983, early '84.
Right.
And it worked in just a wonderful way. It produced some of the most memorable professional wrestling ever. Some great talent. There were promoters in Puerto Rico and Canada and in Japan and Australia and Singapore and that recognized a single champion and operated under the same set of rules. And that's what we're trying to do.
I love it. And you talk about everybody trying to come together and the egos holding it up. I like to play devil's advocate, Joe. Tell me if I'm wrong. I respect your opinion. But this is the way I kind of look at wrestling anymore. I think all of us contribute something to wrestling, whether you're a cameraman, referee, commentator, podcast guy, promoter, wrestler. Everybody's adding their little piece to the pie. Now your piece is there, your fingerprint's there, and you want to protect that. That's your baby. That's your piece of what you love. And I kind of get it now,
I do. I get that. And I agree with you. About 98% of what you just said, I agree with. But the main thing for me is that there's no promoter anywhere that's been successful absolutely on his own.
Right on.
I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
And when Jim Crockett Promotions, which was Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, was a member of the NWA in the early to mid 80s. They had a territory that was North and South Carolina and Virginia, and most of West Virginia fell under that. There was a couple of towns in northern West Virginia that actually came under the WWF area that was run out of Pittsburgh back then. But 95% of West Virginia fell under the Crockett promotion. And Jim Crockett and his brother David Crockett did not go out and promote every one of those towns. They had a series of promoters under them that had towns. You had a guy who might have Spartanburg, South Carolina, and another town in South Carolina, and that was his job to promote those towns. And they ran those towns either weekly or bi-weekly, or some of the smaller ones even monthly.
Okay.
But what he did was that he used the talent off of Jim Crockett's television show, and the booker for Jim Crockett Promotions sent him the talent on the date that he had the building for. And they promoted the event that was sent to them, and they made money based on that. Okay. Same thing in Georgia. And when Jim Barnett owned the Georgia promotion, he had several partners, the Briscoe brothers and Fred Ward and Ole Anderson all had a piece of that office.
Okay.
And but you had a promoter in Augusta, you had a promoter in Macon. And different places, probably a different promoter in Savannah that did all the legwork for that particular town.
Okay.
And they ran the shows based off of what was going on TV, and the shows were sent to them. The cards were sent to them, and the wrestlers, and that's what they ran, and they promoted what was given to them, and they made money because they didn't have to worry about being on the phone calling a bunch of wrestlers, which is like trying to herd cats anyway. And and wrangle all these things together. What they concentrated on is they booked the building, they got the advertising, radio, TV, newspaper, posters, sponsors, whatever, and they promoted that town, and they made a percentage of the gate off the door for promoting that town.
Gotcha.
And they didn't have to worry about all the other mess, but they were making money. Everybody was making money,
right?
And the AWA was the same way. You had Wally Carbo and they ran like in Omaha and they ran Chicago and Minneapolis were basically Vern Gagne's towns, but they had a promoter in Winnipeg, Canada, They had a promoter in Denver. They had a promoter in Los Angeles. No, I'm sorry, not Los Angeles, San Francisco, and same thing. Same thing. Those individual promoters in those towns, they didn't handle anything except the promotion of the event, and they made money for that. They relied on the actual promotion itself, which was the AWA, to send them the card and send them the wrestlers, and they might have had their own ring in their town, but other than that, you know, everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel and basically do something they don't have a clue about.
That's exactly what I was going to say. This is a proven formula that works,
Absolutely. Absolutely, it is. Now, NICW and the board of NICW are not trying to tell anybody what to do on their individual events, but they're going to have a larger talent pool available to them to book, to come to their areas that are guys that are on legit TV, which is, APW is a part of NICW, and we've got our television show on. We discussed it last time, on multiple broadcast platforms in multiple states. And, if you've got that available to you, why would you not want to book that? Why would you not want to book, the Dragon Scott Lee versus Baron Krause, which is, that Baron Krause just recently beat Scott Lee for the TV title.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you not want to book that match? Why would you not want to book Crash Cassidy against Jeff Paul in the rematch for the American title off TV if you've got an opportunity to do that?
Yeah, people's been watching it on TV. I mean, people's been going to shows in the area seeing it happen.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So you can promote that, and the same way when the tournament's over and we've got a world champion, you can take your top guy. Let's just say the top champion in Top Notch Wrestling Alliance. That promoter wants the shot for his top guy against the world champion, and fine, we'll send him the world champion.
There you go.
We're going to come up with we're going to start putting out a set of ratings for the NICW poll.
Okay.
And that's going to be based on, the amount of times the guy wrestles per month and his win-loss record.
Good.
So, and it's going to also it be determined maybe potentially by who is the champion of whatever individual promotion. Like right now, the automatic number one contender to the NICW world title is the American heavyweight champion in APW.
Okay.
So that's automatic. That's the number one. Same thing happened years ago under the original NWA. The world champion and number one contender of the world title was the United States heavavyweight champion, the NWA US champion. But when that world champion went to the different territories, when he went to Alabama to Southeastern Championship Wrestling, he wrestled the Southeastern champion,
right?
For the top contender to that title. He may be there for several days because, for God's sakes, people ran 7 days a week back then,
right?
But he would go to the Dallas booking office and he'd wrestle for 3 or 4 days, 5 days in the Dallas area. He'd go to Mid-South in New Orleans and Louisiana and Oklahoma and Arkansas and wrestle the top contenders in those bigger towns, Kansas City, St. Louis, Portland, all of the member territories. The top contenders got a shot at the world title, and they back then the world champion was booked, 6 months ahead of time. You knew he was coming. So you had time to build that up. As a promoter, you build your top guy. The world champion's coming, and we got a title shot. So do you want to be the guy in the ring with him or not? And it just worked. It just worked. And that's what we're trying to do.
I like that. I like that idea. And you're talking about all these different states, Joe. I think a lot of folks need to start realizing more that West Virginia really has a rich wrestling history. And this upcoming NICW title tournament, that's a new chapter in this history. I mean,
it is.
Whatever happens, it's history.
Absolutely. You and I have talked kind of off the air about. I think you were a little surprised at some of the kernels of knowledge I was dropping on you about the history of wrestling in this state.
Surprised.
I have a long history with the business. Like I told you the last time, I became a fan like 1975, 76, and absolutely fascinated with every aspect of the business. Back then, there was no such thing as the internet. I mean, the only way you got to see anything from outside of your local television viewing area, if you were lucky, you got to see two promotions. If you lived in an area like I did in Bluefield, we actually got to see about 4 different promotions.
Oh, wow. It's more than I had growing up.
Well, I tell you what, we had that, in about from the late 70s to the early 80s, we were able to, in Bluefield, we got Georgia Championship Wrestling on cable on Channel 17, WTS, on Saturday night and Sunday night. And we were able to get the old ICW Paphos promotion was played on Channel 4 out of Oak Hill here. And they were on, they started out on Saturday afternoons, and then for some reason they moved them to 11:30 at night on Saturday night. But, if you were a fan, you still followed them.
Right.
But we were able to get the Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling show, came on one channel. And then I remember WSLS out of Roanoke had the old worldwide syndicated program.
Okay.
Promotion. And we were also able to get the promotion out of Knoxville that was running. That was Southwest Sports Incorporated, I think.
Oh, wow. I think that kind of shows how over wrestling was, that it was on that many stations. Obviously, people's watching.
Yeah, absolutely it was. And, they're in 1982, I think it was, the USA Network picked up Southwestern Championship Wrestling out of San Antonio, and we were able to get that too. So, man, I was absolutely in seventh heaven with wrestling back then.
Sure. Sounds like me in '99 when we got the satellite dish.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. We never did get one of the promotions that I absolutely loved. I loved reading about them in the magazines, and I used to trade videotapes. But I loved the Memphis promotion, and we never did get that on TV here. And I used to go to buy the magazines, Pro Wrestling Illustrated and the Sports Review Wrestling and Wrestling World and different print magazines to follow, all of that stuff. But that was the only exposure I ever had to any WWF stuff back then, was through the magazines. The only way that I was aware of Bob Backlund or any of those guys that a lot of guys would go there that I knew from Mid-Atlantic or Georgia or whatever, and I could watch those, or I could read about them, what was going on in the magazines. In '82, you had Bob Orton Jr. showed up in New York for WWF, and I was familiar with him from the Paphos ICW and from Mid-Atlantic. And you had a lot of that. You had Ronnie Garvin showed up in Georgia in '83, and I had been watching him in ICW for years. Ox Baker, and you had just a lot of guys that you would read about in the magazines. You were really excited when they came to an area where you could see them on TV, or for God's sake, go and buy a ticket to see them live. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, even in my day, Joe, we're talking the 90s, I was getting PWI and reading about ECW. And when I could finally watch them, oh my God, this is the guys in the pictures and I was reading about. And I was a tape trader.
Talking about,
So I totally get it. And yeah, you've been showing me, man, you were there in the thick of it. You've seen, heck, I even saw some pictures of Sting and WCW in the area. I mean, when I was growing up, I had to make a lot of trips to Pittsburgh to watch WWE, ECW. I think I made one WCW show in Charleston at Thunder. But it was mostly indie shows, if you had to go to one in West Virginia.
Yeah. There was a lot of really top level indie wrestling going on. A lot of people. Did you ever read Cactus Jack's first book?
Guarantee it, a couple times.
Okay, if you noticed that he mentioned that his first match ever was in Polka, West Virginia, and those guys came out of Pittsburgh to do that, and what those shows were actually run by Bill Watts. And Watts was looking at expanding nationally, and he kind of did a test. He sent some of his undercard guys along with DiNucci's students out of Pittsburgh, and ran several towns, to just as a test market to see how it would work.
Mm-hmm.
But there were top level shows happening in West Virginia. Now, myself, being from Bluefield, Roanoke is just less than a 2-hour drive for me, and that was a big Crockett town. I used to go to Roanoke for TV tapings and live events, as well as around here. I actually I went to Greensboro a couple of times in the early '80s. I went to Charlotte for a big one time.
Nice.
It's just, I don't understand today. I talk to fans and they say, I'm not, if I'm running a show that's 30 minutes away from their hometown, they're like, that's too far to drive. And I'm thinking, for God's sakes, I used to drive 3.5 hours.
Thank you.
To go see wrestling.
Yep. Yeah, if you want to be there, you'll be there. I've made so many trips to Ohio and different places for ECW, and heck, even different independent promotions I've went and saw.
Yeah.
Like, if you love it, you'll make it. Quit with your excuses. Get out and enjoy pro wrestling. Why don't you want to have fun? Why do people not want to have fun anymore, Joe Brody? I don't get it.
People are they're so spoiled by having access at their fingertips on their phone or on their computer at home, and with the streaming and everything, and
nothing beats it live though.
No, it doesn't. And the feeling of being in the arena when matches are going on,
Mm-hmm.
There's just nothing like it. If anybody's out there that if you've never been to a well-run independent show, you're going to absolutely fall in love with it. I just had one of the best compliments ever was paid to me online from somebody I never heard of before in my life. But, the APW television programs, after they air on broadcast TV, we put them up on our Rumble channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put that too, because that's on rumble.com. If you go to American Pro Wrestling TV, you can see all of our archived television, a lot of promo clips and individual matches and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I over Christmas I got an alert on there and said somebody had commented, and I get those on a regular basis, but I wasn't doing anything else here at the house, so I just clicked over and read the comment, and there was a gentleman out of Alberta, Canada, that told me that he absolutely loved what we were doing. It reminded him of watching the old Calgary promotion and the Atlantic Grand Prix promotion out of the Maritimes, and he's so glad that he found us.
That's awesome.
Fans that I want to provide what we're doing for. Just like me, he's not really enamored with the modern product, but he wants pro wrestling, and to be able to provide that to somebody, that kind of made my Christmas, to be honest with you.
I definitely understand if anybody does. Somebody told me last year that they wouldn't know anything that was going on in the state of West Virginia if it wasn't for my channel. So,
there you go.
So it makes you feel good.
I'm sure appreciative of you doing what you've done. I think my last appearance on your podcast went over pretty well, and,
yep.
I enjoyed it. Glad to be back, and you immediately publicized the press release from NICW about this new plan we've got moving forward this year, and man, I'm really happy with that. And I've gone back and taken a look at a lot of your older archive stuff on YouTube in the last week too. Now I'm usually as busy as a cat scratching fleas. I don't have a whole lot of time to go and look at stuff like that, but I made time.
I appreciate you. And I've been doing the same thing. I've been trying to get familiar with APW and watching some past APW, because you had me on commentary here and there for some random shows. So I kind of want to know what I'm talking about. While it's on my mind, Joe, the Appalachian Express, they won me over. That promo that you put out on what? Am I crazy, or are you pushing the envelope just a little bit with your Cadillac Jacksons and your Appalachian Express? I'm all for it, and I could be crazy.
Well,
but
here's the thing. There is a legitimate personal animosity going on between TJ Walker and Danny Burgess and a former set of APW tag team champions, the Shooter Society, Chase Bennett in particular, but by association, Corey Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys feel like that they got robbed of the tag team titles by the Bronx Bombers, and then TJ and Danny swooped in and took the belts. And I really feel like that it's got to down to in the ring at some point. It's just going to happen. And right now they're taking jabs at each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you saw that clip, Ted Walker claims that it was inadvertent, that he was just had the belt up and was holding it to show Dixon Bad, hey, I'm the champion, and Dixon ran Chase's head into the belt and cost the Shooter Society a win. And they weren't happy about that.
And then Dixon Bad's hanging out with him the next week. So I don't know, Joe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like being at the tuna cannery. Something smells fishy about that, doesn't it?
But you know what? It was entertaining. It was entertaining as heck. Speaking of, I threw Cadillac Jackson out there as well. I'll go ahead and announce it. We got him coming up in the podcast. What can I expect from this guy, you think?
It's hard to tell. I don't even have any idea. I don't know where his head's at. He came here out of New York, and he was a referee for us, and he did a really good job. And he had said that he wanted to be a wrestler, that he wanted to compete, and we didn't have a slot for him at the time. And he jumped at the first chance that he got, and he just shocked all of us, everybody in the locker room, everybody involved in the office at the promotion, and definitely the fans. It's like a night and day difference between the guy, the Cadillac Jackson that was an official and a referee here, and the guy that's in the ring now. So I'm thinking that the guy that's in the ring now is the real Cadillac Jackson, and the one that we saw as an official, well, he was just lulling everybody in until he could, find his spot.
Yep, I think he was just there basically scouting. He had the best seat in the house. So he knows what everybody's capable of. He was counting those shoulders. So another person that's reached out, Joe, that's going to be coming up this week on the podcast, the Baron is coming on the podcast. Victor Krause. Where'd this guy come from, and what should I expect from him?
Baron Victor Krause is from Germany, and he actually came over to the United States to train at Boogie's Wrestling Camp, Charlesville, Virginia, and that's where he got his training. And he felt under the tutelage of the Cuban Assassin when the Cuban was still actively wrestling, and you can't ask for a better wrestler to learn from than a 35-year successful veteran like the Cuban.
Right.
And it's paid dividends because he just won that television title here in APW. He chased Dragon Scott Lee for about 2 months. Got a couple of non-title wins over him, some different circumstances, but he took his shot. And he made his opportunity count, and he won that belt.
And that's quite a notch in the belt, beating Dragon Scott Lee of all people, So I got to give him props there. Joe, I'm throwing names at you.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw it out here right now. I'm going to be as professional as I can, but I noticed that Lane Cali is in the NICW title tournament.
Yeah, PWL is a member promotion, and their PWL champion, Lane Cali, is in the tournament. But I'm gonna give you another exclusive. I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag here.
Okay.
As well. I don't know if you saw that, but we originally had Pony Johnson scheduled to wrestle this week on Thursday night on television, and unfortunately he had a death in the family. His sister passed, and he's unable to make it this week. So I picked up the phone, made the call, and said there's a spot open. It's not going to be a tournament match, but Lane Cali is going to make his first appearance in the Mountain State Sportatorium this week on APW television.
I'll be the first to say the kid's a talent. He's super talented. I'm going to give you a heads up and say keep an eye on him. I'm going to say nobody would blame you if you took him out of the tournament after you see how he acts in the backstage and around the locker room, and everybody will understand. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not telling you how to do your job. I'm just saying keep an eye on the kid. He sucks. But he can wrestle, unfortunately.
The fact that he's the PWL champion speaks volumes for him, and that's who is representing PWL in the tournament, and along with Jeff Paul, who's the current American heavyweight champion, and he's got as good a shot as anybody else. But our fans are going to get an opportunity to take a look at him for the first time this week on television.
I'm just saying, if that kid would happen to win another title, I might have to leave the wrestling business. I'm just. But anyway, we're having a lighthearted conversation. We're getting along pretty well. I won't go down the Lane Cali road. Just keep an eye on him, if you would, Joe.
Well, everybody new that comes into APW for this television opportunities kind of got they've got all eyes on them. Everybody in the locker room and all the staff are seeing what they're all about.
Good.
So I told you before, one of my best friends in this business was Scotty McKeever. I learned from him, and one of the things he told me years and years ago, back in the 90s when I first started traveling with him, and he told me, he said everything in this business is a test. And I said, okay, what do you mean? He says, when you walk in the locker room, how you conduct yourself and carry yourself is looked at by the promoters, the bookers, the other wrestlers.
For sure.
He said, how you deal with your business, your gear. When you lock up with somebody in the ring the first time at a promotion, everybody's looking to see if you know what you're doing. And that lockup tells the story about right there.
Right.
You know, do you know what you're doing or not? And, I try to import that to the trainees here at the APW Training Center. The etiquette of the business, which is unfortunately is a lost thing today. Most trainees don't get that kind of knowledge, and that's a big advantage to getting trained here in APW or like somewhere like Boogie's Wrestling Camp. Hey, that reminds me, I've got something else I'm going to mention.
Okay.
I spoke to Cuban Assassin earlier this week, and he said that he would be interested to coming to the APW Training Center to do a seminar.
Okay.
If there were young wrestlers out there that were interested in getting a seminar, and we'd be willing to do that for absolutely what is a very, very, very agreeable rate. So if there's any young wrestler out there seeing this, if you'd like to get some knowledge, get a seminar from a 35-year second generation wrestler, successful, great guy, I'm looking at putting that together. So message me on Facebook that you're interested in the Cuban Assassin seminar, and we're going to try to put that together.
That's an opportunity. Yeah, you guys definitely got to take him up on that. I'm looking at the card for this Thursday, Joe, at the Sportatorium. I mean, you got Hillbilly Big Joe coming in against Marcus Mayhem. Marcus Mayhem, that's two big dudes, man. Like, you've got some big guys.
Mayhem's making his first appearance here in APW as well. I to be honest with you, that had kind of slipped my mind, but he's another guy he's a competitor in PWL. I believe he competes in Maximum Velocity as well. So he's getting his foot in the door on TV this week, and man, he took a big bite out of the apple with Hillbilly Big Joe. That's a 400-pounder right there, and a veteran. Been around 20+ years too. So
you talk about being tested.
Yeah, absolutely.
And back to your point earlier, Joe, I am glad and I appreciate that you're instilling some etiquette into the students. I've kind of argued on the podcast that a lot of this etiquette, locker room etiquette stuff, shouldn't be up to the trainers. Like, it's life stuff. If you were raised right, you know to go and help put up the ring and help out where you can. You know to go shake a man's hand when you first meet him, stuff like that. Where do you think life stops and wrestling training begins, you know?
Well, the thing of it is that yes, you're right about that, but there's more to it when I talk about locker room etiquette.
For sure.
And I'm not going to get into that on here, but there's a certain way that you how you carry yourself and how you behave in the locker room. A veteran could take one look at a young guy and say that kid ain't never going to go nowhere, ain't going to be nothing because you don't have the right attitude,
right?
And you don't have the right training and knowledge. And I'm making sure that the trainees that come through here never have that happen to them.
Good. Like I say, I do appreciate you do that because unfortunately some homes, they're just not instilling respect and some values and morals into these kids, so
the first 2
walks
years
of life.
The first 2 years I was in the business, I kept my mouth shut and kept my ears and eyes open. And, nobody wanted to hear anything I had to say, and that's fine because I knew that, and I was there to learn. I wasn't there to tell anybody anything.
Right.
And and again, when you go back to when I started, you could if you wanted to, you could wrestle up to 7 days a week back then, and
Right.
and I wanted, so I had to get my name out there, and I had to I relied on a lot of guys that I met to vouch for me, to get me in and open doors for me in certain places, and it's unfortunate that kind of thing's not really taught in the business anymore. The things that I was taught, they're very rare to be taught anymore.
Yeah, and you talk about how you behave in the locker room, not even if the promoter's looking or not, because guess what? A lot of these wrestlers become promoters. These wrestlers can get you on these shows. I mean, just treat people how you want to be treated, and I think you probably be in good shape. More than
One of
likely.
the one of the big things that's missing today with the young guys is they don't travel together. They don't make multi-state road trips
Okay.
together. And I learned so much. I mean, I've mentioned McKeever, but George South is another one that, I several times I've been in the vehicle with him for a multi-day road trip, and I'm telling you, traveling with George is an experience that every young wrestler ought to have.
I'm sure. You got any cool George South stories
Um,
that you can share?
well, George is always going to be George, but to be honest with you, he's mellowed out a little bit these days compared to what he was when I first met him.
I'm sure.
But I'll tell you a quick story about George.
Okay.
I was actually teaming with George, and we were wrestling Scotty McKeever and a 16-year-old hardcore kid.
Okay.
Who later on started wrestling under his real name, which is George South Jr.
Oh, okay.
And I was in the ring with Little George, and Little George messed up a spot, and this is on the live show in front of fans,
Mm-hmm.
And George was standing on the apron, and he screamed, "No, do it again!"
Oh, okay.
And, like, holy Moses, But what he did wasn't right, so he wanted it done right. And there's a lot of veterans out there that tell you the same thing. George he used to have an absolute zero tolerance policy for anything that was done wrong, and he would point it out to you and tell you about it. And sometimes he wasn't nice about it, but
Okay.
that's what people needed.
Right.
George still won't hesitate at all. If you do something stupid, he's gonna call you a goof and an idiot and stupid. And if he does, it's because you deserve it.
Right.
But I love him to death. I just was on a text message with him yesterday, as a matter of fact, back and forth. And I absolutely love George. I owe him so much for the knowledge that he provided for me when I was younger in this business, and the opportunities that he gave me. If it wasn't for George, you asked me the last time I was on what are my highlight memories of wrestling, and I'll tell you right now, one of them was I stood in the ring on a football field in Wagner, South Carolina, and there were thousands of fans in the crowd, and I was on the second match on the card,
Mm-hmm.
and Ted DiBiase and Sting were on that show. And I stood in the ring, and I was wrestling Scotty, and when Scotty's music hit, he came down from the end zone down to the middle of the field, which was set up on the middle of the field on the 50-yard line. There were chairs all over the field, and the stands were completely full. I mean, I don't even know how many thousands of fans were there.
Right.
But the feeling that I got watching him come down, and to know, man, this is amazing. The only other time that I've ever had that feeling in the ring, I mentioned to you before about growing up in Bluefield, and I used to attend a lot of top level live events at the Brush Fork Armory in Bluefield.
Okay.
And I had been in the business several years before I ever got an opportunity to wrestle in that building. Mm-hmm. And the first time that I did, I was standing behind the curtain on the stage, and my music hit, and I went to go down to the ring, and I glanced up in the first row of the balcony, in the building, and there was a bunch of kids, 12, 13 years old, sitting right in the exact same spot that I used to sit when I was a kid.
There you go.
And watch shows. And I thought, in my mind, well, this is it. This is the last match I ever have. This is the one that I'm going to remember. This is the one that means something, because I got to wrestle in that building where I saw all those great wrestlers and all those great matches.
Right.
And to me, a lot of wrestlers from my day said, "Man, I wish I could have wrestled in the Omni in Atlanta." Mm-hmm. I've even heard Tommy Dreamer say, "Man, he wanted to wrestle in the Omni in Atlanta," and he didn't. He never made it before the building was torn down. But right. for me, that building was my Madison Square Garden. Being able to wrestle in that building was a big deal, And the card that night, there was Boogie, Jimmy Valiant, and Pez Watley, and Ricky Morton, and Manny Fernandez, and I think Buddy Landell and Bobby Fulton all were on the card that night. And
wow.
That was a really big thing for me. And I should have mentioned that the last time when you asked me. And I thought about it just as soon as we hung up last time. I was like, man, I should have said something about it.
Well, you got it in there, Joe. And it's cool that you brought that up, because I was thinking last night, and I don't know what the finality of this is, but it's a thought. We're in the business. We're living our dream. It's so cool. You're talking about you're talking about wrestling in the building that you went to attend shows as a kid, and we're doing it, man. And we're in there. How cool is it that on top of that, we're doing what we love. On top of that, people are actually paying money to come see your product, to see whatever's happening. If it's three people, that's so awesome. If it's hundreds, if it's thousands, that's incredible. I think that kind of gets lost sometimes.
It does, guys. Honestly, most indie shows today are lucky to draw 200 people, myself included.
Oh, especially in West Virginia.
It's a long, tough slog to get to that. But in years past, I ran a lot of buildings in West Virginia and drew 300 or 400 people. And
I've been to shows like that, yeah.
I just wonder where did those fans go? What caused them not to come back?
Well, I thought you had the answer.
I've got my own opinions, but
theories.
I've got theories, but I'm gonna keep that to myself, because a lot of people wouldn't agree with me. And,
I got you. Well, what are you doing to bring those fans back?
Well, what I'm doing is presenting the kind of show that I would want to see as a fan. I'm trying my every time we have an event. Mm-hmm. We've had we went to Fayetteville, West Virginia last spring and drew over 200. We drew about 200 in Withville, Virginia. We've drawn close to 200 in Grundy, Virginia. We've drawn anywhere from 150 to 200 plus at the Bridge Brew Works events that we've had. And I'm trying to think. The Bluefield. We wrestled at the Bluefield. What used to be the Bluefield Auditorium.
Okay.
Lord, year and a half ago, and did over 200 paid fans at that one too. So
good.
Those successful events for me nowadays. But in those same buildings, a lot of them I've drawn in excess of 400 people before. I ran to Welch Armory in 1998 and 99 and drew 400 people both times.
Okay.
And you can't go to Welch now and draw 5 people because there's no money there. Unfortunately, a lot of the wrestling that's taken place in the intervening years in McDowell County has been such a poor quality that I don't blame people for not coming and spending their money.
Yeah, and that's something I've complained about on the channel, that once people see this certain brand with these untrained goofs in the ring, then we all get branded as that, and it's so unfair. And I've tried to stick up and let people know there's a difference. Different promoters promote, they hire different workers. It's not all the same, I assure you that. And I know you guys are doing it the right way. You're doing the best you can for the fans, so good on you.
We're trying to, and we've got a pretty loyal fan base. But I just wish it were bigger. I just wish that more people came out and gave an opportunity to see what we're offering. I want them to watch on television, and I want them to watch on Rumble. But there's no feeling like being there live in the arena. You know, we've got fans that come almost every week that when the first time they came, somebody had to convince them to come, and now they're absolutely in love with it, and they come every week.
I know the type.
I'm talking to you, Leslie and Charlie. But you know, I did. I ran an event over in Hinton about 2 years ago, and Hinton has a hit or miss history. You know, I ran shows over there back in the '90s at the old Armory that's not there anymore, okay. and did okay with them. They weren't great, stellar events, but we did okay. Mm-hmm. But years ago, ICW used to run in Hinton, and you know, right up the road from Hinton in Ronsford, the NWA used to run shows in Ronsford on occasion. You know, once a year, twice a year.
Okay.
And Hinton, unfortunately, just kind of fell off to where it doesn't make financial sense for me to try to go back. And you know, I don't want to point fingers, but there was somebody that I was in business with at the time when I first started APW that I think caused a lot of that to happen, and I was never able to recover from it. That person, you know, hasn't been involved in almost a year and a half now with APW, but I just feel like bridges were burnt in that town that can't be rebuilt. It's going to be a long time before that taste goes out of their mouth. But we drew 125, 130 people in Hinton the first time out of the gate, man. And if you know the town of Hinton, that ain't an easy task right there.
Right. Yeah. Congrats. I've been calling it secondary heat. I've suffered from it in my time as well. You know, you do nothing wrong, but you're friends with a jerk. So it's happened to me. Believe me. I'm. Yeah. We'll just Lest we say it's a super positive podcast here, Joe. So we're doing great.
Keep it positive.
That's right. We're in the final 4 minutes anyway, Joe. We've covered some territory. Before we wrap things up, if there's anything else you want to put out there in the ether, any shows you want to promote, your socials, whatever you want to put out there, you have at it, sir.
Well, I tell you what, NICW is bringing an APW event to Grundy, Virginia on Saturday, February 1st.
Nice.
And we've got a heck of a lineup on that card, and I don't have the paper here right in front of me, but there's going to be our rookie, Cade Cobalt, won a Battle Royal the last time we were there, and the prize for the Battle Royal was that the next time we come back, you get to pick, you get a title shot against the champion of your choosing. And I think he's going to be making that announcement as to who he wants in a title match, possibly even this week on television.
Oh, okay.
But well, we've got that. We've got the tag team champions, the Appalachian Express, are going to be there, along with Baron Krause and Dragon Scott Lee. I know is going to be there, and I'm pretty sure Jeff Paul's going to be there.
I'm looking at Eric Steele and Mike Mars on the flyer.
Yeah. Well, Eric Steele is unable to make it. He was on the poster when we sent it off to the printer, but he's unable to make that event.
Okay.
But it's still going to be a loaded up card, and we haven't announced the match lineups yet, but it's about 90% set in stone. I think Tony Ray's going to be there. Pretty sure Tony Ray's there.
Cool.
Dixon Bad, Cadillac Jackson. So yeah, it's going to be a loaded up card, a mix of NICW and APW talent.
I love it, man. Congrats on all you're doing, Joe. It's been a hell of a start to the year, man, and I couldn't be happier to be the guy to put it on the channel, put it out, spread the word. It's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan in our area.
I want to plug something else here real quick, because a member promoter, and I got to look this up, but Maximum Velocity Wrestling is going to be in action this Saturday. And I'm trying to find Lord, I can't. Do you have that? I'm not sure.
MVW?
Yeah, MVW.
Okay. Let's see what's going on in MVW land here. One moment. There we go. Let's bring it up. Let's see what they got going on. I appreciate them sharing yesterday's video. Good looks, MVW.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, okay. Looks like it's Saturday, January 18th. They got a show coming up.
The 18th. Okay, so it's this Saturday is not their event. This Saturday, the 11th is the Top Notch Wrestling Alliance event in at the community center in New Haven. Okay,
Okay.
I had them flip flopped. I thought one was this Saturday and one was the 18th. But okay, so I'm gonna do everything I can to be at that at both of those events, checking out the talent rosters on those events and helping out any way that I can, which is really what this whole organizational thing is about, is promoters helping each other make all of our products better and exposing our product to more fans. So
I couldn't be more for it.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at both of those events, and I do believe that there's going to be other NICW members there attending those events for the first time. So,
all right. So that's kind of the first taste people will get. I mean, not necessarily as far as promotion goes, but you guys are going to meet up and they might get a taste of things to come.
The NICW has an event also in Roxborough, North Carolina, on Saturday, February 22nd.
Okay.
So there's a between my regular Thursday television tapings, the event in Grundy, the event in New Haven and in Nitro, and in Roxborough, there's quite a bit of wrestling going to be going on in this month, and we want fans to come out and check it out for sure, definitely.
Y'all got options, and they're good options. I promise you. Like we've said the whole podcast, give it a shot. That's
Don't forget that big PWL event on March the 8th in Bluefield too. PW bringing Matt Riddle in for that event. So I like I mentioned earlier, the APW Tag Team Champions are going to be there on that event as well, and it's not been determined who they're going to be facing yet, but I do know that they're obligated to defend the titles that night.
That's exciting stuff. That's cool. I mean, it's a stacked card, just got even better. I'm all for it, Joe. I will ask you, sir, to hang on the line with me. To the listeners, I told you it's going to be a wild ride this year, and we're only a few episodes deep. We're only 7 days deep, aren't we, Joe?
That's right. Now, I want fans go out and if you can't get our product on live television, please go to the Rumble channel, rumble.com. That site operates exactly like YouTube does. You can get it on your phone. It's a free app. You can get it on your computer. I'm pretty sure you can get it, like if you're on a Roku TV, I would think.
Yeah.
And check out the NICW and APW events. And I got one other thing I want to talk to you about. Did I mention about I think I did, about the clip shows, and we're going to be putting those together, matches.
For sure.
Promotions. So, that's going to be coming up real soon. So if you check out everybody's social media pages for the announcement on that. I've had several matches sent to me for that, and the first one is real close to being in the can to be able to put up on that. But there's a whole new set of fans that are going to be exposed to a whole new set of wrestlers.
I love it. And think these fans could possibly meet other fans. They could get married and have children. We're bringing the world together.
Well, nobody will ever accuse me of being overly sentimental, but yeah.
Well, they accuse me of being a cheesy goose, so I throw it out there. I don't care. I appreciate you joining me, Joe. To the listeners, this is why we do it, man. We're having a good time. We're rocking and rolling. There's no better time to be a wrestling fan in our area. Go out and support independent wrestling. Go out there and live your dreams. Keep treating each other with kindness and respect. At the same time, don't take no shit from nobody. Stand on business. Do your thing. Spooky Lou loves you. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Joe.